Welcome back to the show. My name is Eddie Okila with my guest in the studio here, Sylvain. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Before we went for a break, we were talking about what happened when you wake up today and you were told that the man you knew very much as your dad is no longer your dad, or is not your biological dad. He's still your dad, because in Africa, a child is raised by a village. And so in that context, it's your father. But should you hate your father? Should you hate the person who raised you if at all it turned out that he's not your biological father? Should you? How do you deal with that situation? Do you change your name?
No one deserves to be hated. In any case, the beauty that we do not make applications to be born. We find ourselves born, and we don't play a role. We just find us outside there as a product of a certain role that was played by two people.
Yeah.
I think what it would require of one is to think through. First of all, at what age do you find that that person is not your dad? Is a big question. Two, how did it come about? Did it come out of a quarrel, a disagreement, or it was a candid conversation that somebody felt you needed not to be left, in the unknowns for a long period. So different scenarios will need to bring about different approaches. But the center point of that is that there is no one that deserves to be hated. For example, you get to move to this man's house with your mother at the time you were young. For some reasons, she left where she was, or she gave birth to you, but she's not with your father to say, why should that man face the problem? Because in any case, I think that person is merciful to feel that he can live with a mother, a lady who has a child that is not his own biologically. I think that person deserves a plus, deserves to be appreciated, deserves to be thanked. That's number one. Number two, when you realize that you have not lived with your biological father for the longest period, you need to find the position of your conscience. Because you might end up getting annoyed with somebody that is either doesn't care or had no option at that time in his capacity but to live the life that he lived with you. And if you find your conscience, then you'll be in position to know, how did it happen? And go with an element of grace. Because you cannot tell. That very person himself is the only one who can explain what he was through. And no matter how much he really explains, fathers play big roles and something you can't really pay back for in their children's lives growing up. No matter how much explanation this person is going to give, it is still not enough to your satisfaction to say, I really forgive you in the human setting. But why I'm insisting that you stick to that and find a space in your heart to forgive this person is because shortly after that, unless you choose not to marry, you will be somebody's dad. And we do not know how it is going to go with you. Number two.
So you're saying you could also fall
You could also fall a victim.
Yeah.
You could also fall a victim. Number two, if you choose to go the positive side, looking back into the kind of input this non-biological father has put in your life, there are many things to learn. Me and you, we very well know that the person you are, the person I am, is not entirely or completely grounded on our DNA, where we were raised from. There are many things that have shaped the persons that we are. Some of us have been majorly shaped by the environment we've lived in, not really because we were raised and we lived with our dads. And once you get to that particular position, then you will be in a position to determine what kind of family do I want to have going forward. So I feel If you choose to hate your dad, if you choose to hate the person that you've lived with for a long period and you later realize that he's not your dad, for me that's wasted energy. Our energies need to be channeled in the positive sense.
Okay.
Number two, the third one, the third component is that thank God, some people have lived with their parents and they don't like their parents when they are with them. What could have happened? They are with them. They know their biological parents, but they are not happy at that very point. How about you has got even an opportunity to live with somebody strange? Talk about changing names. Why should you change names necessarily?
Because I've had a friend of mine who was, the moment he learned that this was not his father, he decided, no, it's not my father, I'm going to change my name. My name, I also give it to my dad, even though I don't, trust my dad. I don't know what happened. I might be accusing the man. My mother told me very late. And then later on, when he pushed so much and changed his name, the mother told him, actually, let me tell you, it was your father who left me. So because I was dealing with too much pain, I chose not to pass the pain to you. Now he wanted to change his name back to his stepdad, and it was too late. So he ended up in a very messy situation.
So you see, that's very struggle.
Yes.
A name is a name. It does not tell your biological settings or the DNA.
Yeah.
However, if you feel that will put you in a stable state, well, I don't dictate. You can really change it. But for me, I feel it's not even necessary to identify myself with this family lineage whose actions are not that interesting to identify with. I want to identify with something really good.
Yes.
So to say that I feel I need to change my name because the other one is my dad, sometimes we are actually traced by our lineage.
Yeah.
If you're the Kagoros and they trace the Kagoros and then they find the Kagoros were the thieves, they were the thugs, they were a nuisance in the community, why would I want to identify myself with a nuisance in the community?
Yeah.
I think we need to keep refocusing and finding out what's the driving motivation to choosing to change the name. If you don't have something really tangible and something you can live on and something that you can give out to your upcoming children, I mean to say, unless you're not biologically active, whatever you're going through, sometime, someday, you're going to be in position of that person that you think is the reason for you being in it. The question is, how are you going to handle it? And let me put this one also. Sometimes as either men or women, we want, especially when we have lived a poor, not so good life, we work towards, I don't want to be like my father.
I actually want to hold it right there. We have to go for a break, and when we come back from this coffee break, Sylvain will pick it up from there and say, I don't want to be there. But you've heard from him, you've heard from the man, the kind of situation we go through in life. Stay right there. The Family Talk is talking about what do you do when you find out that the man that you have been living with is not your father, and how you deal with the emotion later. Do you reject him? Do you accept him? Do you fight? On the series of lessons learned from our father. We'll be right back after this break.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085 or check our website www.sealuganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
Welcome back from that break. This is the Family Talk Show. My name is Eddie Okela, and in the studio is Selvin Gumisiriza, who is a guest on the show today and is a resident panelist representing Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe. The Family Talk Show is a very important show to us as part of an effort to address many things and the issues affecting our families. The Family Talk Show seeks to address this every single week by bringing some of the complex situation to the forefront, but also with a discussion that is meant to inspire you and to give you direction on how to deal with those complexities that come with situations surrounding our families. For example, if your father was not involved in your life, and you discover later on that the man you've been living with as your dad is not your dad, what do you do? How do you deal with that emotion? Many of us are stuck, and yet we're becoming fathers. What are the lessons learned from our father? Have you learned a lesson from your father? If that happened, would you throw away that man, or would you continue to have him as your father? Many of us have gone on to change our names, and many of us have gone in to say, I have lost my identity, I don't know who I am. Who made the mistake? People keep asking such questions. I think my father made a mistake, or my mother. Gumikiriza, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I want to take you back from where you had stopped.
Yeah.
Point number 3. Do you remember point number 3?
Do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yes. Pick it up.
The idea of thinking that I don't want to be like my father, I don't want to be like my mother. For me, that is wasted energy. A reason being, you certainly cannot be like your mother. You can never be like your father. You can only be you. So what then does it require of you? And like I said before, just put yourself in the right context and have your conscience clear and say, okay, from here, how do I want to live my life? Because as you're growing, there are things you learned. Some accidentally, some incidentally. So there are many things. For as long as your eyes can see and your ears can hear, you've got to learn a number of things. Some you've got to choose to drop. Some you've got to choose to pick up. This means that when you get to the point of marrying, get a husband, you get a wife, and you give birth to a child, whether you want it or not, he or she is going to learn. And he's going to learn from you. Now, if he's learning from you and you're not intentional about what you're teaching or what you're demonstrating, there's also a possibility that you can even be worse than your father in an attempt to not be like your father. And the truth is that you have been different from your father, but rather worse. So that negative energy, we don't need to invest it in our lives. Thank God you're breathing, you're not sick, you have a job, or you've struggled and gotten somewhere. The next thing is, what else can I do? But also, now the fourth point is that get to a point of reconciling with your God and with yourself.
Wow. Well, you've had that coming from Sylvain right there. When your father was not involved in your life, what do you do? How do you deal with that emotion? But I want to just bring it to you guys who are watching the show all across the world. Wherever you are, we're live on Facebook, on Twitter, and our YouTube channel. Please go in there and subscribe and be part of this discussion growing bigger and better. Every family in the world has got a problem. Every family in the world. They struggle with something. We have seen the British family, the strongest, most powerful family in Britain, struggling. The Queen's building, the Queen's household also has issues with to do with the family. How about you here in Africa, in Uganda? You have the same problem. So it means the rich also cry. So the issue we're talking about here exists. And I think the issue that we see going on in England and in any other part of the world is because of identity. So fathers tend to give a lot of identity meaning to their sons. And you're becoming a father, and your father was not involved in your life. Some people have killed their father. Others have gone ahead to break down. Now, I want to take you straight to that part, Sylvain. When you talk about your dad telling you, when you said, Dad, we're not agreeing, it says, okay, I'm leaving your house. You were not rejecting your father.
No, I wasn't.
You were just simply telling your father that, you know what, in order for me to be more focused, I need to leave. And your father tells you, if you go, you cease being my son. How did you reconcile the situation?
It was difficult. I'm not Superman. I'm a human being. First of all, I left and I went to live with somebody not at all related to me, with whom I worked as a houseboy, and for he thought, well, I'd gone to be a houseboy, but the issue had been that me and my dad were disagreeing that he didn't want to take me to school. So at 6 months down the road, I'm working for him, and he says, but you boy, you're not asking for your money. And I told him my problem leaving home wasn't money. My problem was that I couldn't go to school. And that statement, I think there's a way it touched him. So he asked me a question, could you please work? You think you can work as well as be at school? I said, well, let's try it. Because you have your interest, I have my interest. Thank God it worked. None of his farms went with like unattended to, yet I also studied. And that for me was the catch. Fast forward, I landed in the hands of my uncle, maternal uncle, whom I had last seen about 8 years past. And he sees me, he says, hey, you boy, you're here. I'm thinking, oh. So he picks me away from Rukunja and brings me to Kampala, and my life immediately changes. But I had this very interesting lady. She used to be a very good friend to my mom. And I found her in Kampala. She told me, you know what, Sylvain, the best way to live your life going forward is to begin to think on how to forgive your dad. You don't have to ask him questions, but you have to find a space in your heart to forgive him. And I can tell you, it took me the longest period, to the extent that even when I could be demonstrating, forgiveness, this moment you're going home, you want to see your dad, you want to greet him, he refuses to greet me. I put my hand and he says, no, I don't want to greet you. Now, the beauty part of it was that he would say, I don't want to greet you, my son.
But he wanted something from you.
He just was still demonstrating he's angry with me.
Yes. Okay. Oh, okay.
So he calls me,
yeah.
My son, I don't want to greet you, but then he calls me my son, and I'm at peace with that. And I'm at peace with that. So along the way, and not so long ago, I remember it's about 2018, 31st December 2018, in an overnight at midnight. The first call I received was my dad's call. Hello, how are you? I wanted to wish you a very happy new year 2019. And I realized at that moment that he had chosen to reconcile. The beauty is that for me, I gave my life to Christ in 2009. I struggled with it for about 5 years, and then I later released. So by the time he was saying, I wish you a very happy new year, with me it was already okay, because the moment I released, I continued on with my life. Yeah. I continued figuring out what do I get, how do I do that, how do I connect with that person, and all that for me was very helpful. The process of reconciliation can be difficult. Sometimes it is not even realized. But there is need for one to get to that point and say, I need to move on and I don't want these hindrances. When there is an opportunity to reconcile, please do it, because it unfolds very many things tied up. But when you choose not to reconcile, like I was saying before, it is negative energy invested into something, and sometimes the parents are also naive. They had never been parents before. They were learning to be parents, and now they don't know how to reconcile, and you're making the life more complicated. You will live a very much miserable life. You can go on and prosper in the context of a human setting. You have all these things you wanted to, you've admired. You have the car, you have a wife, you have everything. And you call that one prosperity. But inside you, you're empty. So that is something that you need to think about. Because what fulfills somebody is this moment where he turns around and he feels he's accepted. He turns around and he feels he has friends. And he wants to connect home, he can call and they say, hey, we are here. Do you want to come over? And when you get there, they say, you're welcome, irrespective of the things that really happened in the past. That was your story. If you want, by the beauty part of it, you can actually write a book, and it will get it will get market. People will want to know, how do I go through such? Because some of the people that have written these books are really very theoretical. But if you want, you can even write the book because you have lived the practical life. I mean to say, always find the means of not being deviated from your focus. And it is very difficult to be innovative when you're annoyed, when you're unhappy. You can only be innovative when you feel you have life. So focusing on that also kills your creativity, kills your innovation, and you'll still end up not being fulfilled. The Bible somewhere in Solomon, there's a way he puts it and says, vanity. All that we are working for, all that we are really looking for, at the end of the day, there's going to be an end point, and you will pass on. You will die. The question is, what do you want to leave back behind? Is it the right thing? Is it the good thing? Or is it the bad thing? We can still know you if you choose to live that life. At the burial, we can eulogize and we say he has not lived a good life. If that's what you want, if that's what you want people to say. But you can as well say, we can as well say, he struggled, but he was a good man. He lived a difficult life in his childhood, or she lived a difficult life in her childhood, but she was a good lady. She was generous, she was positive, she was supportive, she looked after her children. And so is the man. So choose the legacy you want to leave.
Well, I think the family talk show, when your father is not your real father, how do you deal with the emotions later, is what we're talking about. The series is on the family talk show, where we focus our attention on fatherhood. Fatherhood is such a big thing in our society, in our lives, in our families. A father without direction to the family, that family will perish. A father who does not give a child emotional attention is a no father to that child. It doesn't matter how much you are giving or what you are giving to that child. And that's what we're talking about here. This is a family talk show. My name is Eddie Okela, and Sylvain Gumisiriza, that's the right word, is representing effectively Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe on the show today, and I think he has done a good job in doing so. Now, I want to remind you of something about Family Talk Show, just before I get back to Sylvain. That Family Talk Show is much inclined towards values. Do you have value as a father that you give to your children? Innovation. How innovative are you to your children as a father? All right? And dialogue. Do you have a dialogue with your father? You've heard the story of, Sylvain and his father. When he said, Dad, we're not agreeing. The father is saying, stay home, look after my animals, few animals there. And the story is known in the Bible. David also suffered the same consequences until God came to his rescue. Sylvain's story is just different. His uncle came to his rescue. But he's not living like that. David didn't live like that. So do you have a dialogue with your children? That's what we're talking about in the family talk show. And are you justness, being just to your children, you as a son being just to your dad? I mean, if your mother tells you this is not your father, are you going to blame your father, your mother? Are you going to look for who sinned, like the other one who asked Jesus who sinned, that this man is lame, And the other thing is hard work. As a father, you must show your children that you are hardworking. You must tell your son, you must show them, work with them, walk the talk with them. Some of us fathers don't do so because we didn't have a father figure in our lives. Pastor Joshua Mugabe's story is no different. My story is no different. So is your story. And the last thing I want to talk about is character. Character is very important in trying to guide a family going forward. Orderliness is very important. What kind of character are you as a father to your children, to your sons, to your daughters? That's a lesson picked from our fathers. We want to pick from there. And orderliness. Are you an orderly person? Are you orderly in everything you do? Like Sylvain, the lesson I learned from him today on the show, and to many of you, he said, I stayed focused. I knew that we were disagreeing with my father, not because of anything, because I wanted to study. He was sharing a different idea altogether. But see how he turned around the story. You too can also stand around the story. And by the way, this is not a motivational speaking. It's a family talk show where we're talking serious stuff. Devotion. How devoted are you? Do you sit down and, give your children understanding of what you're talking about? These are the things we're talking about in the family talk show. And of course, we want to look at the personal development as a person. Do you allow your sons to develop further? If your son is trying to do something, would you allow him to develop? Would you be like Sylvain's uncle who says, 8 months, where have you been? I have seen you. And then off from Ntungamo in the western part of Uganda to the central part of Uganda, and the story is different. He's now discussing politics. He's now on the family talk show. He could have remained there. Sylvain, we have to bring this show to a close.
Yes.
And I want you to look into one thing, revisiting our Christ-like family, you know, Christian families, establishing an inspirational and very educational, a stage in our life, a spiritual field family. It doesn't really matter. The family is not about, what we'll call religious correctness or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter whether you're Muslim or a Christian or whatever it is, or a Jew or a Buddhist. A family is very important. You don't have a family, none of those things we're talking about will work. First of all, the foundation is from there. But I want you also to close it up by saying, fathers who are political figures, how should they deal with their sons? Because they spend a lot of their time arguing in parliament or wherever they are, that they have very little time with their sons. And most times, we've seen them in movies. We've also seen them in real time when the son and the father are completely totally different. I think we have a case in scenario somewhere in Africa here where the first sons are usually either people who like, public life of drinking and enjoying, and people keep playing, but he's not fit like his father. And we forget that the father, in so doing, did not, when he is working, doing something around politics and fixing the nation, he forgot about his son. And now he wants his son to become the president. The case in point in Mali right now, where we're seeing the son has come, kicked everyone. So I want you to close the show with those.
Well, I think the most important thing in all settings, family is very foundational.
Yeah.
And to anybody watching and listening, be mindful that you can want to fight and to save the country, but if you lose your family at the end of it, you will still have lost. So it is important that you focus on saving your family, and there's this calling that you have to save the nation as well. In other words, have time for politics and have time for your family. And if you're to compromise, please compromise the time for politics, not the time for your family. In other words, right from the start, you have to be intentional to make your family understand and get to know why you're going where you're going, what is in it for them, that you're trying to stabilize a nation, you're trying to stabilize the situation. And when you come over home, give them their due attention. Do not pick those ministerial calls and all other political calls, yet you are actually in the family, because you're with your wife, you're with your children. They want you there. They want to connect with you as a parent. Other than that, you can end up being, in our language, if I can put it in English, that setting to milk two cows at the same time, you'll end up not having any milk from any of the two. So that is two angles. They are all demanding your time, and you choose to split yourself, you will actually end up being split, and you won't have a fulfilled life. It is very, very important for us to have stable nations, for us to have stable communities. We need to have stable families. If we are intentional in stabilizing our families, it will be automatic and subsequential that the communities will be stable. If our communities are stable, the politics or the governances of our nations will also be stable. And in a stable environment, there's a lot of creativity, there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of development. We cannot achieve development if we don't stabilize ourselves.
Wow. Well, when your father is not your father, is a topic of discussion, how do you deal with the emotional part of it later? I think Sylvain has done a very great job in trying to help us understand that. Thank you very much to Pastor Joshua Martin Mugabe and Hassan Sekajolo for setting up this topic rolling, and for course setting the platform rolling. Again, we want to be able to inspire the families to be great. Next time we promise to bring you ladies to hear their perspective when they finally tell us, by the way, that is not your dad. And it is said only women know the fathers of their children. So unless your mother tells you who your real father is, the DNA might not be able to prove. And of course, there's a lot of stereotype going on about you might be fathering a son who is not yours, and his character turned out to be totally very different. But all of these stories we will discuss in the family talk show. And it's important that as you plan to get married, make sure you tick the boxes. Make sure you are pulling your family together. Ladies and gentlemen, all across the world, in the US, in Australia, wherever you are, in Germany, wherever you are in the, Sweden, we want to say thank you so much. But we want to end the show on a very interesting note here. Gumisiriza is on the show, and Sylvain is a son of the western part of Uganda, the land full of milk without honey, because honey is coming from somewhere else. So it's not fully the package of the Bible as it is, but that's another discussion altogether. His cousin, the son of Dr. Kiza Besigye, graduated. And there was a very interesting discussion that happened right there when he graduated. The mother said, our son graduated and they were very good. So we saw pictures where Dr. Kiza Besigye was not there. But the mother had to do something that says, join the family in a toast virtually. And somebody tweeted and said, why do you always refer to him as our son? And said, and I think it evoked such a very deep emotion from Winnie Byanyima. And I think I saw a tweet where he says, he didn't wed me, but he kept promise and he never explained. So I was like, wow, people can go as far as looking for connection. Now, and it's said when the boy has just graduated. Do you think it will ever affect that son?
Well, unless his name is Anselm, right?
Yes.
Unless Anselm is not human, then he won't be affected. He will be affected, I can guarantee you. Forget about all that they possess. Forget about the level at which they are. Forget about how he sleeps and everything that is happening in his life. It's going to affect him at some point. He might be not that courageous to have a candid conversation with his parents. Now, if he happens to be courageous now, then the better. But in their absence, at their old age, I can guarantee you that it will affect him. One thing we do not know is that a child at about 3 years of age, be careful what you're doing and what you're saying in his sight or her sight. So you might find Anselm, like any other child, has grown. He has gathered a lot of information. His hard disk is full of information, part of which he's struggling with and doesn't know whom to discuss with. Part of which he has probably tried to discuss and he finds people they do not connect with him, because it is difficult to be in the world of Anselm, in the life he has been. So let's be careful when we are mentioning statements, even when we are so much annoyed. We can never justify these statements by saying I was annoyed. No, it passed. And let me tell you that, which is something you already know, that the Bible puts it very clear. It is what is within you that comes out through the mouth. So what enters is not the biggest problem, but what comes out is so much big. And remember, it cannot be withdrawn. So if she has said it, she needs to find a means of sitting with Anselm and unpack it for him. So is the dad. He also needs to find means and time, have a conversation with Anselm.
In fact, the connection there, if I may interject, is on the issue of both is a political figure, mother was a political figure, and both of them are very strong. Now, of course, over the years, a lot of things have been said about the father, the mother, and the stuff like that. It's not something we're saying. We're not saying that the father is not in his life. We're not saying that he's not in his father's life, or mother is not in life. But one thing I want to learn from there, and I thank them for, is the fact that they're always with him, even regardless of what they're saying. I saw Kiza Besigye on screen when he was talking to his son, when he was congratulating me. And I felt like that the moment where the father would stand there, because if he wasn't there and it was only the mother, he would be asking, so yeah, I don't care whether you are the top man or the big man in Africa, but you see, you were not there when I was graduating, right? You didn't, but he was there on the screen. And that's the moment we wanted to throw out there, just for anyone who is watching the show. We're not saying that there is that problem. And what Sylvain is basically wrapping up on the show is saying, whatever happened in that situation, if you may pick it up from there.
Yes. Whatever is happening, they need to bring it back to Anselm's context, because his world is different from their world.
Yeah.
Yet they are responsible for bringing out his world. So they have to explain to him. And he has got to grow to the point, I guess he has started making his decisions, some of which
the mother actually said, he's now enough to get out of my apartment.
Get out of my apartment. You see now, making his decisions. But remember that how he has been brought up is going to affect the decision he's going to make as well. True. So, and my prayer is that it affects him in making the right decisions. But the life Anthem has lived is a difficult life to understand, and only Anthem and God can understand that. But it can be used for the good. Should not be something that one say, you know, he lived alone with the mother for the most time, so he's mommy's boy, and so the father is not in the figure. No, in his life, the father figure is not in his life. No. Either way, I'm not the one who said that when you are given lemon, you can turn it into the lemonade. Yeah. He can use his life that he has lived into something so exciting, so interesting that people would want to say, okay, no more excuses. It is up to him as Anselm, but it's also up to their parents to be candid and be honest with him, show to him the kind of life he has lived, and then let him know that he can actually choose to live a life that's even a lot better and still appreciate. One other thing that we tend to make, especially a big mistake, when we have all these challenges and eventually we prosper, we think that those people did not matter. But they were part of our story. So we need to give them their due respect. Back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Sylvain. Thank you very much, everybody, for being a part of the Family Talk Show, Growing Bigger and Better. You've heard it from Sylvain right there. We would like to bring it to a close today. The Family Talk Show exists for you to express yourself. I think if your father was not in your life, deal with the emotion creatively and make sure that emotion does not affect negatively the son you're going to bring or the daughter you're going to bring, but rather it will be a point of strength for them. And the lesson is drawn from this topic today, from the family of the most powerful man, one of the most powerful men in Uganda and in Africa, Dr. Kizza Besigye, who and his wife, Dr. Winnie Byanyima, have raised one son, total apart, but he has graduated. And we see him there being part of the graduation virtually, even though coronavirus. So with or without coronavirus, he still participated. We want to salute Dr. Kizza Besigye right there and Winnie Byanyima for showing the best example in context and in light of the topic of today. If your father was not in your life and you get to know later what happened, do you reject, accept, deal with emotion? Until next week, Pastor Joshua Mugabi, Edio Killer, Asan Sekajolo, and of course, Sylvain, our guest here, we want to say thank you very much. And it's a wrap from us here until next week. God bless you. Stay rooted in your family and be a good father to your children.
has a bit of complication, but it's intriguing.
Yes.
It's designed that way.
Yes, yes,
okay?
yes.
It may be a maze,
Yes.
but there is order to what appears to be disorder.
So that is Pastor Semper.
That's Pastor Semper.
Yes.
And that's actually the work of God,
Yeah.
a complex.
Yes.
When God does things, He does them fearfully and wonderfully. They're amazing
Yes.
when you look at them. So people like you said, they want to put a dot where there should be a comma.
Yes.
And they want to keep you only in one place. People like to say, Pastor, why are you now entering into politics? Why are you now commenting on it? Pastor, now for example, yesterday some fellow on Twitter
Yes.
was complaining,
Yes.
I forget his name. He complained about a woman who tweeted that she's got 6 dildos, electronic dildos, okay? And she was saying, these are, can you imagine, I can have these and I have no threat of STDs. So now one of my followers complained and said, you know, man, how can we even compete with these things that never run out of energy? And now there was a growing falling out of people saying, man, we are really
being taken down, these things. But you're a human being, you're not electricity.
Exactly. But now,
And the system was never created for electricity.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, normally I don't go very much into issues of sex and
Yes,
what.
yes.
But if I have to,
Yes.
I will.
Yes.
Because I represent a thinking of a biblical way,
Yeah.
and people see me as a role model.
Yeah.
So I remember that back in I think about maybe 2019,
Yeah.
they released a report, and this is a scientific report,
Yeah.
that showed that couples, that is man and woman who had sexual relations,
Yes.
and exchanged fluids,
Yes.
were happier. Women who had sex and exchanged sexual fluids were happier. And they examined what is the sexual fluids from a man.
Yes.
What are the chemical components? They broke them down.
Yes.
One of them, they call it a happy hormone called
Yes.
oxytocin.
Yes.
Now, oxytocin is a happy hormone. When a woman receives oxytocin,
Yes.
she gets happy.
Yes.
It's only released during sex with a man,
Yeah.
or when she's breastfeeding
Yes.
a baby. Those are 2 times.
Yes.
And it makes her happy. Why do women, why do they bond with their baby, love them so much? Because there's a chemical release that God has designed. So when I release this research
Yes.
to this guy, I say, guys, don't worry, you are not, it's not even a competition. Those women there, they may use those gadgets, but they are still miserable still. Long after they have run out of batteries, because they can never have
Yes.
what God put into you. Guys, were happy.
Yes.
Because you see, when God gives you a mission,
Yes.
to bring happiness to you, between you and your wife,
Yes.
He equips you with a capacity
Yeah.
to make her happy, which cannot be found in a dildo
Yes.
or in a machine. And
Yes.
by the way, I sometimes like to point this out to those who are practicing same-sex relations.
Yes.
You can't have that.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
No.
Lesbians, homosexuals, they do not have that. It never comes, that chemistry. Number 2, even in those who are doing these feminists who are doing masturbation,
Yes.
whatever, you can't get those hormones. So I sometimes say the reason why some feminists are continuously miserable, because they have never sampled the happy hormone. Can you watch it? Take it. You see, I'm embarrassing.
No embarrass at all. And Pastor, I have a very interesting message here from Diwato Chom. He has said, and I'm going to read some of your questions from out there. Yeah. This is coming from Iduat Ochom, is a serious lawyer in town, land rights lawyer, and with a fresh master degree from Swansea University, just returned. Swansea, yeah.
England.
Yes.
Well, hi, how you doing?
Hello, welcome to this edition of You and the Law. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. You and the Law is simply what it is, you and the law. In this show, we try to demystify the law for the ordinary person, make it simple for a teacher, for a lawyer, for a farmer, for a doctor, for a boda rider, for a cleaner, everyone in our society. This program touches on every aspect of our lives that relate to the law. Is it marriage? Is it property? Is it land? Is it traffic? Anything that touches on the law will be discussed in this program. Today, we're going to have an interesting conversation that will focus on the institution of marriage. I know most of us have attended marriage functions. Some of us are married. Most of us viewers are married. But what does it mean to be married? How does the law look at marriage? So this conversation today will focus on demystifying the whole topic around marriage and how it is viewed from the eyes of the law. And to help us do this, I have a learned mind with me, and it's none other than my friend, my colleague, Emmanuel Elau. Emma, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Hello, viewers. Thank you for having me on the show.
In House of Talent, when you fist bump, you spread the love. So you do this, then you spread the love. Yeah, so Emma, how have you been?
Well, I've been great.
Yeah, we're coming in from 42 days of a lockdown. How has it been on your end?
It's been quite difficult. You know, you wake up in the morning, you sit around the compound, you look at the time. You know, you lose sense of the calendar because you fail to understand which is a Monday and which is a Sunday.
You're even lucky that you have a compound. Some people live in one-bedroom houses
and
have nothing to look except their iron sheets.
Yeah, sure.
And really, you're our first guest really on this program. And why do you think it's sort of important for people to just know about the law? Because I know you've been teaching law and practicing law for all these years. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. You know, when it comes to the law, we basically live the law. You know, on a day-to-day basis. You know, whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law, because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife. You know, all the things are the law. You know, when you jump on a border, there is law. When you're driving, we're talking about traffic. You know, if you go to a restaurant, you must ensure that you have the money because you're consuming someone's energy and investment. You know, so you must be able to pay for that. So we interact with the law at all times.
It's part of our everyday life.
Yes.
Man, you don't want to be in trouble after many years of working hard only to realize that you have no rights at all simply because you didn't celebrate any of the marriages that are recognized within the laws of Uganda. With that, we come to the end of this edition of You and the Law. It's a bye from us. See you next time.
Welcome to this edition of the Coffee Break. This is House of Talent and my name is Atengi Emmanuel. Remember, this is the show that we get to talk all about coffee, what's happening in the coffee business, different elements about coffee. And back in the studio today is someone we all love, someone we've taken a long time without seeing. I love saying it, the Coffee Messiah is back. It's like the second coming of Jesus. So the Coffee Messiah has come back. Amon, welcome back to the show.
It's nice to be here again.
Yeah, it's good to see you. You've actually been gone for a while. I don't know, were you like out converting people, bringing people more into the coffee side?
Well, I've been trying to make ends meet and happy, healthy. So it's good to be here. Yeah.
It's good to have you. I hope your ends have met.
Yeah, they have. They have met.
Well, to complement the Coffee Messiah, we have someone else in the studio, the first female guest we ever had on this show. And at the beginning of the show, she told me that since we have a Coffee Messiah, we should have a coffee goddess. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Swabra Banks, to the show. Swabra, you're very welcome to the Coffee Break show. I know like a lot of people out there, whenever you tell them your name is Swabra Banks, okay? The Banks part is not a Ugandan name, totally not, okay? So how did you end up with that name?
That's a name that was given to me by a sister of mine, actually, because she used to believe in me, and she was like, "You're going to get a lot of money."
Okay.
Yeah, so she gave me the name Banks. Yeah.
So have you reached that point where you have that a lot of money?
Yes, I thank God, yes.
All right, so probably after this we're going to the bank with Swabra Banks. Yeah, but that's interesting. Welcome to the show. We just want to start off with basically your profile. Who is Swabra Banks? Who is I'm a Barista? You know, where did you grow up, and how did you end up into the coffee business?
Okay, so Swabra Banks is a barista.
Yeah.
I grew up in Entebbe Road, Ndeje, and I went to Mutesa, One-Way University. I was doing mass comm. And then how I ended up into coffee, it was through a friend of mine who is now like a brother to me. He pitched this coffee thing to me. Of course, I didn't have interest in coffee, and I had to go and enroll in the academy. And then as I was doing the coffee course, I fell in love with the coffee.
Oh, that's very interesting. So you talked about, you know, in Mutesa One, you actually did a course in mass communication.
Yes,
so growing up as a child, what did you want to be? You know, people always want to be a lawyer, some want to be a pilot. I had some kids say they wanted to be a taxi conductor because they hold a lot of money. So growing up, what did you think you would be in the future?
I wanted to be an actress, actually, because I loved movies ever since I was a young girl. And I think I love the camera from day one. That's why I went to
So are there any hopes of you getting into the movie industry in Uganda?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I'm not taken by the coffee industry.
Well, that's very interesting. Amon, to hear from you. I also know that, you know, growing up you wanted to be something. You know, what did you want to be when, you know, you were a kid growing up? I know there was nothing like a barista in your mind. I don't even think you knew about coffee at that time. So, from my perspective, I think you wanted to grow up and be a model, but you can correct me on that.
Why would you choose a model? Well, me from, I want to be a journalist.
Okay.
I think I realized that in my P6. We had a teacher who was doing journalism at the same time teaching us SST. So this guy was like a lifestyle guy. He used to be a very, very, very inspiring guy. So I liked him from the start. So I'm like, okay, I want to be a journalist. So that's how I picked a dream of becoming. And at least I'm trying to achieve that, you know, because right now, if I'm doing mass comm, at the same time, this we're doing coffee, so I'm still on the track. I'm not like Swabra who's already taken by coffee.
You know, the most amazing thing is that actually all the three of us here have done mass comm at a certain level. Okay, and
so we have one thing in common.
Yes, we have something in common at least. The other thing we have in common is that, you know, we all passionate about coffee, which is a very good thing. So, Swabra, you told us that a friend of yours, who's now like your brother, introduced you to the coffee industry. So, I know that when someone introduces you, there is always a pitch they give you. It's like if I want someone, let's say the Coffee Messiah always goes out to convert people, and he has to give a pitch of why should I join the coffee business instead of actually starting a boutique, okay? Which one would make more sense? So what were some of those things that he told you about the coffee business that actually pulled you into it?
Actually, the most interesting part about it was he also didn't know anything about coffee. he wasn't a barista by then. He just told me, you have to do this course and then come to Dubai and make a lot of money, because you know, the coffee business, there is money. So I also went into it to study, to go and get money. But along the way, of course, I fell in love and I decided to stay in Uganda.
All right, so you talked about Dubai. Most of the people we've had on the show have had some experience with the Middle East. We had a guy who worked in Kuwait as a barista. So moving from Uganda to Dubai, did you go and work as a barista, or you went and got involved, you know, into other businesses?
I went to Dubai way back. I think that was around 2014, but it wasn't coffee. Yeah, I knew Kofi after I came back to Uganda.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was like, now that you're back for your vacation, you should do something different and then come back as someone new.
Okay.
Yes, that's when I went into the coffee industry.
Amon, I remember last time we were talking about you not wanting to go out of the country, you know, to become a barista. And I don't know if your mind has changed since then, yeah. But like most of our baristas go to Dubai, they go to UAE, yeah. I really haven't heard of any barista who has gone maybe to America, maybe to Europe. Is it easier as a barista to go from Uganda to the UAE than it is to go maybe to Europe or to America?
Well, guys do go in the UK, in the US.
Yeah.
Guys do go, but only that these people go in the line of maybe doing hotels, not coffee shops.
Yeah.
Because it's because someone is easy to access that side, and whoever goes that side, now there's a lot of connection that side, so people get to know that okay, Emma went to UAE. But when someone goes maybe to UK, it will be hard for someone to know, because maybe like it's a family or a family friend who gets to know that, you know what, Emma went to UK.
Yeah.
But people do go that side,
Okay.
and they make a lot of money.
That's very interesting. Still talk about Dubai. I know there are very many differences basically between Dubai and Uganda. Okay,
Yes.
and going there, I believe there was that cultural change. So, how were you able to deal with the culture change? Because I know that Uganda is more of a freestyle kind of place, and
yes.
Dubai is really a strict place, especially when it comes to ladies. So, how were you able to manage the culture change from Uganda then to Dubai?
It was really tough.
Yeah.
It was tough for the first months. I think the first 2 months, and then of course the fact that I went to Dubai as you know, like looking for a job and all that. There are also other people who come to Dubai that are not from that country. Yeah. So that kind of gave me a sense that I'm not alone in this. So of course you have to make friends. You have to learn the language, because learning the language is the most important thing to do. So I caught up with the situation.
Okay, so did you learn the language?
Yes, of course.
Okay, that's very interesting. So
I like the language.
If I went to Dubai and wanted to order a cup of coffee, okay, how would I say that in Arabic?
I don't remember.
So basically you learned a few things, like maybe a
few
greeting.
things. Yes.
You know?
I used to know all of it actually, but
Wow.
it's been a while. I don't remember all of it.
Because in most cases, when you learn a language, what you get to know is how you greet and everything is like to keep you running in case you get lost. It's like those guys who come to Uganda. What they need to know is Mwasuze Mutia, Olibulunji, something like that. But they can't go beyond that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like how you say that, Olibulunji.
Because that's how they say it. That's how they say it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I also believe that dealing with people, basically when you're a barista, or at that time you're a waitress, okay?
Yes.
You have to deal with people, okay? And customers are really different. You'll find a customer who's really nice and sweet. Then there are those who are backing orders at you.
Yes.
You know, there are those that you can't deal with. So did you ever find yourself in a situation whereby you were presented with a customer who was really harsh, okay? And how did you deal with that situation?
The first thing these people do is to train you, customer care, how to handle clients, because of course they also know how clients behave. So you start up with everything like the day when you know what's coming. Yes, because you're in a country that is not yours. So every time you could get maybe a harsh client, you could know how to handle. You just be polite and apologize, and then you get the order and then you move on.
Okay, interesting. To Amon, I know that in Uganda there are certain places that I've gone to and there's totally no customer care. You enter a restaurant, you order for something. First of all, I believe that when you go to a restaurant or to a coffee shop, okay, someone is supposed to come and attend to you, all right? But there are some places that in Uganda you go to a hotel, you go to a coffee shop, and you really have to call the waiter or call the waitress to get served, okay? Amon, how has been your experience in Uganda in relation to customer care, especially where you work? Are we up to the mark of good customer care, or we still need a lot of help in that part?
Well, to be honest, in Uganda we still have the poorest customer care. Because in most cases, these guys who are in customer care or customer service, most of them are either in school and they're just doing the job for the sake of doing the job, but they are professional customer care attendants. These guys have studied this. They have gone to like a room and studied this. They have gotten training, so they know how to handle a person. But in Uganda, it's really, really hard to find a very, very good customer care. For a case of where I have been in a few places, I haven't had that bad experience with customer care because I've went to a coffee shop and I've received instant care, instant customer service, and it's been a nice experience. So I haven't received that bad service.
All right. According to me, I think that just like you said, we really haven't reached the mark. We still need a lot of help when it comes to the customer care industry. And I believe that most of the time, you know, you just get a job and there's really not much training put into it. You just start working and you don't know how to deal with people. I believe that the most important part when it comes to such a service industry is not even the coffee you're brewing or it's not the food that you're giving. It's basically how you treat the customers. Okay, that's what keeps them coming back. Okay. So Abra, before we go for a break, basically how we got to you was that you were blowing up on social media. Okay. A little bird told us that there's a certain barista that is now blowing up on social media. Okay, and it really caught our attention. We're like, oh, okay, you know, baristas are actually getting out there. You know, the coffee business is starting to grow. So before we go for break, I just want you to tell the viewers out there, okay, who are you on social media? What is your name on social media? Are you Swabra Banks? Are you someone else on social media? Because sometimes people have aliases, you know. I'm one on Facebook, I'm one person, then on Instagram I'm another person. So before we go into a break, just tell the people who you are on social media.
On social media, I am a barista.
Okay.
Yes.
That's both on all your social media platforms?
All my social media platforms, yes.
Okay. Yeah, please.
That is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay. We're going to get into a break right now. In the studio, we have Amon Mukisa, the Coffee Messiah, and we also have Swabra Banks, the Coffee Goddess, and me, the Coffee Human, Ateng Emmanuel. We'll take a break right now, and when we get back, we're going to talk more about how you can brand yourself in the coffee business. Stay right there. This is House of Talent Television. Welcome back to House of Talent. This is the Coffee Break Show where we get to talk everything about coffee. And in the studio with me, I have Amon, the Coffee Messiah, and Swabra Banks, the Coffee Goddess. And basically, we've been talking about her life. Where did she start from, and how did she end up in the coffee business? We also had Amon telling us about his experience and what he wanted to be, you know, when he grew up. He said he wanted to be, you know, a journalist, okay, which I believe that you're studying, okay. You got me wrong. I thought you wanted to be a model, but here we are.
Why did you think I wanted to be a model?
Maybe you look like one.
Yes. I mean, when someone looks at him, you know, you can see the well-kept beard, the well-kept hair, the nice shirt. I think it's something that you really need to look into.
Maybe I should.
Yes, you should. Okay. At least we'll say we know someone famous. Yeah, but like I said before, we went into a break. We're just getting into basically branding in the coffee business. Okay. Before I saw your profile on Instagram, I really hadn't seen any other barista who had put themselves out there. You know, it's like being a barista is only what you do when you're at your coffee shop or when you're at your place of employment. Okay, it's not like how you have all these social media influencers, you know, always putting out their videos, you know, tweeting on Instagram. I really haven't had anything from a barista. Okay, and it's good to have someone with experience. Okay, we just want to know, how do I start? If I was a layman, I've gone to, you know, barista school, I'm a barista. Where would I start when it comes to branding myself as a barista?
I think the first thing you have to do is get the passion.
Okay.
Yes, because you can do everything, but as long as you don't have the passion for it, you're not going to make people love it.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, you have to fall in love with it first, and then do some research. Don't be in the comfort zone. You have to do some research, know more about the industry, be down to earth. You don't have to show off and all that. And have content. You should have content. Always have content. People love to see what is unique about the industry. What is she doing other people are not doing? How come she's doing this and other people are not doing it? Let me follow her. Let me try to do as she's also doing. So at the end of the day, you make people love what you're doing. If you also love what you're doing.
Yeah, so basically the first thing you're saying is have a plan.
Yes.
Okay? Sit down with yourself and say, you know what, this is what I want to achieve.
Yes.
Okay, these are the steps to it. All right, so I have a plan. This is what I want to do. Okay, but I'm not yet out there on social media.
Yeah.
One of the first things when you're basically picking a name, when you're picking social media platforms or what you're going to be on social media, is picking a name.
Yes.
Okay? The name, I believe, has to stand out.
Yes.
And the name has to be catchable, something that will stay.
Yes.
All right, so you use I am a barista. Okay, how did you come up with this name? I believe that there were countless other names you'd have just used for Banks.
Yeah.
I believe that in itself is a very good name.
Yes.
So how did you end up with I am a barista?
I'm one person who is very proud about being a barista.
Okay.
So the name just came up because I'm proud of being a barista. And, you know, people used to call me Banks. And I wanted to stop that, to stop people to call me Banks. And maybe start calling me barista.
Okay.
So I wanted to send a message out there that I am a barista.
Okay.
Yes, I'm not a barista.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Amon, when it comes to branding, okay, what would be the first step in your regard, in your perspective?
Well, when it comes to branding, I think it's the cause and the value you stand for, because branding involves personalization or a personality. Then it involves this other side we're putting out. Okay. Because I try to ask myself, why are we not having baristas taken as ambassadors of certain things? For example, we're having different artists come out and they're ambassadors of tourism, and yet coffee is a very, very key major factor in maybe tourism.
Yeah.
Why don't we have these baristas come out and they're like, you know what, Swabra Banks is the ambassador of tourism in terms of coffee, you know, she's going to influence coffee growing in a park or in Gulu. So why don't we have that? I think, like as Swabra is saying, you need to know why you're doing something, and you need to come out of the cage and start doing that. Because if we have various baristas have traits of branding themselves, for example, if I am a barista and I know, okay, I want to go beyond being the station, you know, I want to be out there, I want to show that I'm a proud barista and I can do whatever it takes to be that good person who can be approached and they give me business and I want to influence for a certain cause, you know?
Yeah.
So that would be a good thing. So like Sobra is saying, I just want to know how she came out with the name I am a barista, because it's really working. Because yes,
Thank you.
someone asks you, who are you? I am a barista. So how did you come out with that?
As I've said before, I'm proud to be a barista, and I am a barista. It's not special. It's just that I wanted to send a message to people that I'm a barista now, and I'm proud to be one. That's how I came up with the name, just like that. I am a barista.
Have you been approached by different companies to like do business with you because of I am a barista?
Yes, because everyone is like, what does barista mean? And then they have to look it up, and then they're like, oh, it means someone who does this and this and this. Because a barista is something huge. A barista doesn't just make coffee. No, we make a lot of things. You know that we make juice, we make ice things, and all that. Yeah, so being a barista is something that really makes people want to know who a barista is, not just Swabra Banks, because someone will be like, oh, Swabra Banks and I see coffee, or maybe she's in the coffee business.
Now, Emma, you see, like, she's speaking about being a barista. Most of us didn't know that a barista does coffee, does juices, does cocktails, various beverages. Yeah. So at least if we brand ourselves as baristas, we get to put our image out there, and we'll get some business coming through.
I remember someone telling me that the first time he heard the word barista, he thought it was
a lawyer.
A lawyer.
Because you know, let me tell you something. I was having a conversation with now his spokesperson of NUP, Joe Senyon. So the first time I met him, he asked me, "What do you do?" Because it was after my senior six. I'm like, I'm a barista. Wait, I'm studying to be a barista. For you already a barista.
Most times people actually get it confused. We still haven't reached that place in Uganda where we know what a barista is. We can't really put the line between a barista of law and a barista as someone who does coffee. So I have my plan, picked out my super cool name. All right, I'm ready to go on social media. Okay. What is that brand identity? Every time I look at Swabra Banks' account, every time I look at Amon's account, what are some of those messages that you want me to get without you ever talking to me? There are some social media handles of different people that you see, okay, and you just get certain keywords immediately, like this one is friendly, this one is really nice. What are some of those words that come to someone when they log onto your Instagram page?
In most cases, when I'm posting something on my Instagram, I make sure I'm sending out a message. It doesn't have to be coffee specifically. It can be something else. So I always want to show people that a barista is not just making the latte art and all that. It comes from right from the garden to the cup. So in most cases, when I'm posting something on social media, I make sure I communicate through my posts or my pictures or my anything that a barista does this and this and this. It's not just coffee. It's a lot of things. So when someone looks onto my page, it's like, oh, even a barista does this. Oh, even a barista does this. Yes, that's what I look at when I'm posting anything.
So I actually love that perspective, showing people that you don't have to be boxed up in only one thing. I'm a barista, but I can actually do other cool things. So Amon, I remember I think it was last week when I met you at Enduro. I saw you basically interacting with one of your customers, okay, and it was a good thing to see, because that interpersonal relationship you have between a barista and a customer is a very important thing, okay? So what are some of those qualities that your customers have told you that you have, some of the things that they have complimented you about that actually identify you as Amon Bukisa, the barista?
Me as a person?
Yes.
Well, I think most of them have complimented about the communication skills, because it all goes down to the communication skills. Those simple communication skills. Most people tend to think it's just a thing, but it's a very, very, very crucial thing. Because just imagine someone is talking to you, but you're not paying attention to them. For example, I'm speaking to Swabra, but I'm looking at you. that's already a turn off.
Yeah.
Someone needs attention, needs to be shown that, okay, I'm talking to you, you know, I'm attending to you. So if you're attending to a client or having a conversation, because sometimes you can't be busy on a station. She's a trainer right here.
Yeah.
I don't know why she trains her students, for example, to handle a busy station. But just imagine now I have a busy station and a certain Edwin comes on station and is like, okay, he wants to have that conversation.
Yeah.
How are you going to handle that Edwin? To show him that, you know what, Edwin, I'm busy, you know, but let's talk after having this whole mess worked out, you know. So that's what keeps you going, or keeps a brand of a barista compared to someone who's going to just come, okay, I'm busy, and just comes out and say, oh, why Edwin? Don't I want to be busy in Vaco? You know, something like that. So it's a way how you interact or how you communicate with this person that keeps you in that same state they see it. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's not just about, you know, like I used to think before, you know, I knew about the whole barista thing. I used to think being a barista is basically just pouring coffee for something.
It's called, you know, the word is a barista, which means it comes from the bar, then barista, you know. So it means it's a bar. Someone can access that bar, you know. So if someone accesses that bar, you don't have a right to chase them away. That's not because it's a bar.
So you have to go basically above and beyond what you do. It's not just about giving them the coffee. You have to create some sort of relationship.
It actually means a bartender who is a star.
That's
what it means.
Way to put it.
Maybe Emma, I just want to know from Swabra, what are you using as your brand to add value on the coffee industry? Is it just Swabra, oh, I am a barista, just for the sake of social media? But how are you using I am Swabra as a brand to add value on the coffee industry, and how are you doing that?
First of all, I'm doing that through my trainings. I make sure I give the real content, the genuine content, and then quality. A lot of people are in the business, but they don't, you know, give quality out there. They prefer getting a lot of money without even putting in. So to me, it goes back to quality. You have to make sure you give people quality, both the knowledge part of it and the, you know, the coffee part of it. Yeah, quality.
Okay. Before we get into another break, okay, I know that, okay, now we have the plan, we have the name. Basically, now I want people to know that, you know what, let's say I'm Emmanuel, I'm a coffee human, because I have a goddess and a messiah here.
No, now you're a coffee genius.
You know, so these are the different words. I want people to know I'm friendly. I want people to know that I'm not only a barista, there's basically other things that I do, okay? How do you go about creating your content? Because I believe that that is the most important thing when it comes down to social media. You have to create content that is basically engaging and content that will keep people coming back. You know, so before we go for a break, how do you as Swabra Banks, you know, sit down and create your content that will capture the attention of other people?
Research. Through research, I do a lot of research actually. All the time I'm on my phone doing research. Research comes through in a lot of ways. First of all, you have to show people that we have competitions. You know, baristas have competitions. It's not just about other people. So there are a lot of interesting parts in our coffee industry that people don't know yet. People don't even know you have competitions here in Uganda.
Yet I was actually about to say we should start one, but
we do. Yes, we do. I actually tried to compete. I think that was 2020, but the COVID thing came up and everything was stopped. So you have to do a lot of research and make people, first of all, love the industry. You have to know what people like. Not just putting things on social media and all that. No, you have to know what's trending, what should I post, how should I put it out there, and you have to follow a lot of baristas to know what's going on.
So you just don't come out there and, you know, throw something on social media without a plan.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a break right now, and we'll still be talking to Swabra. We also want to know how Amon comes up with his content, because I know he's not only a barista, there's a lot of other things you actually do. So I want to know how he comes up with his content, and we'll also be brewing coffee. Everyone who comes on the show has to brew for us a good cup of coffee. So we're basically rating up to now who has given us the best cup of coffee. We'll be doing that after the break. This is the Coffee Break on House of Talent Television.
There's a particular segment of fans and basketball enthusiasts who have actually put the entire blame onto the federation.
So for me, it was actually a setup for the girls. Fuba set them up and threw, just throwing in the shark in the deep end with the sharks. That was the
not just throwing you in the deep end, but throwing you in the deep end with sharks.
And you can't swim.
But they expect you to get to the other end of the pool. That is a discussion that actually very many fans of Slam Dunk Basketball Talk are willing to listen to and want to know.
So we'll
if the senior gazelles were not able to get a sponsor, then the junior teams were able to get 3 sponsors.
Enough sponsorship.
KCCA, Stanbic Bank, the Parliament of Uganda, they were on board.
So going back to that, why I would bash the federation, okay, not bashing the federation as such, that is a very, that's a heavy word.
Enormous.
You can't cancel something, then you tell people 4 days to the tournament that you need to start practicing, which is a thing that Uganda always does when it comes to the federation. I mean, I think later on we'll be discussing why the national team itself that is going for AfroBasket hasn't really prepared for AfroBasket.
That will be a discussion later in the show.
Yes, later in the show.
Young people at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Yeah, remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince
Welcome back to the Coffee Break on House of Talent Television. My name is Atengi Emmanuel, and remember, you can catch us on our social media handles at House of Talent Television. That's on our Twitter and on our Facebook. The show will be airing there. You can also catch us on our website, which is houseoftalentug.com. Don't miss the show. If there's someone out there, if you know a barista, someone who's involved in the coffee business and they're not watching the show right now, give them a call and let them know we are on. Before we went into the break, we're basically talking to the Coffee Goddess and the Coffee Messiah about how they come up with content. And Swabra told us, she sits down and she has to do research on how to, get very good content and put it out there. Content that is basically engaging and content that will keep people glued to, your social media. Amon, I know that you're not only a barista, you're also a YouTuber. Okay, so how do you go about getting content for your YouTube channel?
Well, one thing I have to say is, first, you just have to know what you want to put out there. Right. And you as a person, what are your values? Because you won't do something that doesn't follow under your values. Yeah. And what's the cause? I just doing content just for the case of doing content. That's why when you start like doing such type of content, you end up losing it. But when you have that cause, you're like, okay, my cause is vegetation or growing trees. What am I going to do to make sure that we have a larger number of villagers? Okay, that might sound rude. A larger number of people in villages, grow more trees, you know? So you start like planning that. So that's how you come up with your content.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I've come up with content, I'm out there now, and I know that there are certain people, influencers, musicians, different people on social media who are not easily accessible. Okay, I believe that one of the things you have to be as an influencer is be accessible to people, because people want to interact with you, they want to ask you different types of questions, and there's this whole thing of these days that, sliding into someone's DM, which has become, when you say, I sent a DM to someone, they demonize you, they look at you like, So I just wanted to ask Swabra, how approachable are you on social media? Are you that kind of person? Let's say if I ask a question, I send you a message, do you get back in time, or do you even get back at all? Or it's just, social media, what you see is what you get, and that's the end of it. So how do you go about, talking to people on social media?
I do get back, though not that quickly. I do get back to people and of course interact with them. Some come with questions and you have to answer them, like make them fall in love with the industry, and they end up saying, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know actually you people are, of recent, a friend of mine even told me, I didn't know baristas get certified. After I told him that, we go to the academies and all that and we get certified. So the whole thing is, I get back to them, and in the process of getting back to them, I make sure at least I educate them in one way or another how beautiful the industry is, and at least they don't end up going back as they came to my inbox.
Interesting. Amon, how do you take advantage of that kind of scenario whereby someone sends you a message and they want to get to know more about you and also about the coffee business? So how do you take advantage of that? Do you give them all the information, or do you tell them, you can find me at such and such a place and we can talk? Or you actually take your time and say, let's talk through this, let's get on a video call or something like that, and let me walk you through it. So how do you take advantage of that kind of interaction?
Well, it depends on how that someone has slided into my DMs.
Exactly.
if this person has come with an agenda of, just brief information, and I'm at liberty to give out that information, because there might be someone coming in your DM and they want that secret information.
The whole course.
The whole course. Definitely you won't do that. But if it's just giveable information and it's brief, you can give it to them. But also when it needs like sitting down, talk about it like in nits and gritties, then you have to set up an appointment and then do that. And by the way, that's how you get your brand out there. Because just imagine Emma came into my DM and you asking me something, but the way I respond to you, I show you that, okay, I'm available, but not so much available. Exactly. So if you want me, please make an appointment with me and we shall meet. Then this person will get to know that, okay, this is a high brand that I'm dealing with. I have to pay respect to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you just advertise yourself there. You bait them into
yes.
You bait them into coming. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So the final question I want to ask on branding is this. Okay, I've become a big brand. I'm out there. People know about me. Okay, how do you keep up there? Because I believe it's easier to rise to the top, but keeping in that spot is a really hard thing to do. So to the both of you, how do I keep up there once I've gotten my brand to that level?
First of all, you have to be friendly, because people like friendly people. You have to be friendly and you have to be consistent. You don't have to give the same content all the time. You have to keep changing, beautifying, the industry, and all that. So you have to actually make people love coffee. That's what I actually do on my social media handles, and I end up getting students. I want to be like you. You've inspired me. Actually, people come to me and they're like, what inspired me into coffee is your love for coffee. I've got a lot of them. So you have to give really good content and to be consistent, and friendly actually. Yes.
To Amon, the same thing. How do you keep up there?
Well, I think it's just staying on course, because what you used to take you to that top level, it's what you will use to stay on that top level. Because when you lose what you intended to do, then it means this audience will go away from you. They'll be like, okay, Emma no longer does what we subscribed him to do for us. Then why don't we go to someone who needs to do something we subscribe to? So you lose that content. Hence you're falling.
Okay, interesting. So basically, for those who are watching, if you're a barista, you're involved in the coffee business, even if you're a farmer, I believe that there's a way you can actually brand yourself as a coffee farmer and be I don't think I've heard of anyone. So for a coffee farmer out there, this is a secret tip. This is the right time to brand yourself on social media as a coffee farmer. You don't know how many deals you can actually come up with. Well, we've reached to that point of the show where we get to brew a cup of coffee. We have had very many people here, and we're talking with Amon and saying we need to do a show where we just rate the cups of coffee that we have taken here, and that put a lot of pressure on Swabra, basically, because now she has to make a really good cup of coffee. All right, so Swabra, I know that people watching from home are seeing us with all these, things, and they're wondering, okay, what do they have on the show today? Okay, so we just want to start from the basics. What do we have on our set here, and what kind of coffee are we going to make? So basically, you're just going to run us through it, and I'm going to try and do this with you.
Okay, that's
hopefully I won't make any mistakes.
That's a good thing, because in most cases we teach our people outside there who are viewing to brew this. But today it's hands-on with you also. As they're learning, you're also learning.
It's good that I'm the coffee human here, so I can make a mistake. You guys can't make a mistake. So Swabra, over to you. Just take us through, what we have on set and how we're going to do this.
This is an AeroPress. It's a manual or craft brewing equipment. It is portable. You can carry it anywhere you go. So it is categorized it is under black coffee or brewed coffee. So you're going to brew coffee.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so we have our coffee here. We also have a cup with different white things inside. They kind of look like the small pieces of bread we use in the cafe. So just tell us, what do we have here? Why is it white? Can't we get another color like pink or something like that?
These are filter papers actually. We use them to filter our coffee. Reason being, everything is manual, so we need a filter inside there. So this is our filter paper. This is our coffee. This is the AeroPress. This is where the filter paper actually goes. And then our weighing scale right there.
It's amazing that every barista who comes has to weigh their coffee.
You need these things. You don't just have
there's always that average of water to coffee that, you have to really
exactly.
Okay, so we have our AeroPress here.
Yeah.
You know, we have our filters. And we're just waiting for our water to get ready so we can go with this. We also have this. You know, this looks like a small ping pong.
This is a spoon.
Instrument, yeah.
This is a spoon. This one we use it to stir our coffee.
Yeah.
It's the barista word is actually bloom. Bloom, not stir, because
so
everyone knows what stir means.
So you bloom, you don't stir.
we bloom our coffee.
So we stir tea.
Yes, coffee. But we bloom coffee. Yeah.
All right. So as we go on, for those who are at home, it's actually easy to make a cup of coffee. Most people think that you have to have some serious kind of equipment to brew a very good cup of coffee. And I know, Amon, there are people who have asked you, you know, how can I buy this instrument? How can I get this? And I guess you always tell them, you know what, it's easy to make a cup of coffee. You know, you can get a French press or you can get an AeroPress and actually, you know, make this cup of coffee, right? So where do we go next? We have everything set up. I have mine here. I still have no idea where I'm going with this, but let's see how that goes. So what is the capacity of this? Is there a specific capacity, and are there different spoons with different capacities?
Not really, actually, because that's why we need the weighing scale.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the main purpose is making you smart and you work smart to scoop, not just pouring the whole thing.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So here we are.
So you can use any spoon, actually. It's not specifically supposed to be.
Yeah, but this one looks cool. I mean,
it
looks more professional.
Yeah, it's professional. It's the barista spoon, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So as we wait for our water to boil so we can brew this coffee, there are very few ladies that are basically involved in the coffee business. Okay. It's not something that you hear ladies saying, I'm a barista. Okay. It's more of a male-dominated kind of industry. Yeah. So coming from your perspective, okay, how can we get more ladies into the coffee business? They don't have to only be a barista, they don't have to be a cupper. We can even go down into growing coffee, you know. How do we make it nice? How do we make it cool? How do we make it interesting for ladies to, you know, get into the coffee business?
I think that takes us back to, you know, the schools where we go for this, you know, where we go for the whole courses and all that. We have a challenge that we have very few schools here in Uganda. So a lot of people are not really that informed. And of course, ladies, I don't know why they are not confident about this industry. Everyone says coffee is for men, but no, it's not. So I think they are not informed. I think it all goes back to being informed about the industry, which actually we are trying to do. Me personally, I'm trying to do that, yes. So we have to also show them that there are very good things in the industry. You can achieve a lot in the industry. Like I talked about the competitions earlier. Yeah, we go for competitions, for these competitions and all that. People think we are just in this industry to make money, but we are in it to win, to win. Yes, so they have to be confident and informed, I think.
Okay, so Amon, to you, how do we get more women involved? You know, as we get ready to basically brew a cup of coffee and come to the end of the show, how do we get more women involved in the coffee business?
I think it's just a matter of demystifying the myths that are around coffee with women. You know, there are a lot of myths that come along with that coffee dries up women, coffee makes you lose sleep. You know, I think we just need to demystify that, and we shall have more women come on board.
Interesting. So if you're a lady out there, don't be scared to be involved in the coffee business. It's like being a chef. We have very many men who are chefs. You'd think women would actually be the chefs in these big places, but they're men. Okay, so we want to see a point whereby we actually have more female baristas than the males. Okay, so let's get into brewing our coffee right now. I think our water is ready. As we're coming towards the end of the show, but before we get there, let's show you guys how to brew a good cup of coffee by the coffee goddess.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start by preheating my filter paper. I do this because I don't want my coffee to have that pepper smell in it. So I have to first preheat my filter paper, and then I have my weighing scale here. I need my coffee. So I'm going to be using a ratio of 13 grams of coffee with 200 mLs of water.
So do you also like make your own coffee and grind it, or you just depend on getting coffee from different
Yeah,
places?
I really do make my own coffee.
Ah,
I roast my own coffee.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to study how to be a good roaster. I do that at home sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are different parts of basically the coffee industry. I know some people only hear that, you know, being a barista, you know, but you can be a kappa, you know, you can
Yes.
be someone who actually does the growing of the coffee. But I believe that there are also other parts of the coffee business that I've not looked into. Okay, for example, like Amon, you said, you can be an influencer. Okay? You don't have to be directly involved with the coffee business, but you can actually be an, you know, you can be an influencer. You can be an investor also in the coffee business, because I believe that there are all those other options. Okay, and we shouldn't only look at one side. So it would be a really nice thing to see you guys in future investing in the coffee business. Okay, being big baristas and just going back there and basically giving back. You know, investing and taking the coffee business to the place where it should be. Okay, so yeah, back to our brewing. We're basically poured, I don't know how many ounces of coffee.
I've
inside
used
there.
13 grams of coffee.
Right?
Yes. And
Okay.
then after you pour your coffee into the AeroPress, you have to tare, because you have to measure the water, which is 200 ml that we are
Okay.
going to use. So as you do this, as you start pouring over, you have to turn on the timer.
Okay.
Yes.
So for how much time do I have to do that?
You have to pour the water for like 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay.
Yes. So you pour your water onto the coffee grounds as you look down to your weighing scale, because you don't want to mess up the measurements and all that.
I like the consistency with all the baristas when they come. You know, you have to pour the water in a swirling motion. You know,
Yes.
you just don't pour it.
So I'm going to bloom
you know, anyhow.
a little bit for like 10 seconds.
All right. So for those who didn't know, this is the blooming part of it. We
Yeah.
don't stir like we start tea. We
Yes.
bloom the coffee. So what else does this blooming of the coffee do?
It mixes well the
Okay.
coffee,
Yeah.
because it's brewing.
Yeah.
We are brewing, so you have to mix it
Yeah.
well, and of course to let that carbon dioxide out of your coffee.
So you degas the coffee.
Yes, you
basically.
degas the coffee.
Okay. All right, as we honestly wait for our good cup of coffee, no pressure. You know.
Yeah.
I know we kind of put some pressure on you, but no pressure really. Yeah.
So I'm done with my 200
Okay.
ml. So I have to cover my coffee for the aroma not to escape.
Okay.
So I give it like 1 minute.
Alright.
So it's already 1 minute and 21 seconds.
Okay.
So I'm going to need my cup.
Okay, this.
Thank you. You swirl it a little
Yeah.
bit. You can see the reaction.
Gas coming up.
Yes. And then you get your cup. Put it right onto it.
And then flip.
Yeah. And then you plunge.
Yeah, so I think that part you have to do a couple of push-ups.
Yeah.
Just to
Yes.
basically get yourself strong enough to do that. So for those of you at home and are wondering, okay, what kind of coffee are we doing? This is basically an AeroPress. I believe that you can get this in any of our supermarkets in Uganda. Okay, you don't have to really go out and try and get a big machine. You can get something simple like this, an AeroPress or a French press, that will basically help you make a good cup of coffee, especially in the morning. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you want to run to work and you want a good cup of coffee, you can always depend on this. Okay, I believe that a good cup of coffee in the morning will start your day right. Okay, so I think we're done with brewing our first cup of coffee. I think the thing about the AeroPress is that you can only make one cup of coffee at a time.
Yes, you can only make one cup.
Yeah, so this is mainly for single people.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, for strong coffee takers.
Yeah, this
yeah,
is strong.
because
So
it,
this
it
makes
really
a
makes
stronger coffee.
Yes, stronger coffee.
Okay, so we've come towards the end of our show, and thank you very much for basically showing us how we can, make an AeroPress. We have had people doing French presses. We haven't yet had someone doing a cappuccino here or a latte. I believe that somewhere down the road we'll have you come in, or we'll come and actually visit you.
That
at
would be
your
great.
coffee shop, and you can show us how to do these different things. But before we go, Amon, we're talking about how to get women basically and different ladies into the coffee business. Okay, so how, as a barista, okay, would you look into that camera and just encourage someone who's out there. Especially yesterday, the S6 results came out, and there is that uncertainty of a college is going to open, a university is going to open. So we need options. Okay, and I believe that getting into the coffee business is an option right now. Okay, so Amon, I just want you to look there. I know there's a lady who is a bit confused. Should I get into it? Should I not get into it? Do I have the money for it? Just look to the camera and tell them why they should get involved in the coffee business.
Well, Emma, I think the whole process has to be started by our government.
Yeah.
In most cases, we don't like to bring the government's or the government side into our own decisions, but it's so crucial because we follow their guidelines and policies.
Yeah.
So at this time, we need to realize that there's need to be change. For example, can we have a certain way that we can get a break of people come out and go get some skills, because people are sitting at home, senior 6, senior 4, P7, they're all now at home.
Yeah.
At least now they would have used this time to get hands-on skills.
Yeah.
By the time they go back to school, at least they have a skill, so that if in case something fails out there, they return back to this skill. So, to a senior 4 vacist, senior 6, please go out there and get a skill. It doesn't necessarily need to be coffee, but any skill that you can do besides class or school. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Amon. So, Swabra, thank you very much for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a very good pleasure, and I believe that it's not the last time.
Yes.
We want to host actually one of your students, okay? Because it's always good to get something from the student's perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a hash teacher
Actually,
and we don't know about it.
Speaking about our students, I have Sherry Awori.
Yeah.
She's her student, and she was so happy to know that she's going to be hosted on the coffee break.
Interesting. So your students actually out there. So
Yes,
we'll
they're out
host
there
one of your
watching.
students, and we just want to know what kind of person you are from their perspective. Yeah. So before we go, I just also want you to look into the camera. Just give us your parting words, to the ladies out there, and also to the baristas, to the coffee community and the industry. What would be your last words for them?
To my fellow baristas, actually I want to thank them a lot because they are pushing the industry out there. At least now we are recognized as baristas, so I thank them for that. And keep your social media handles active. Keep them active. Keep them active.
Yeah.
That's what I can tell you.
Well, we've come towards the end of our show. We just want to thank the coffee goddess, Sobra Banks. That's a new name for her, baby. And also the coffee messiah, Amon Mukisa. And from me, the coffee human, Ateng Emmanuel. Thank you for taking time to be with us here, brewing a good cup of coffee. I know sometimes you guys always wonder, okay, how does their coffee taste? The cups of coffee we brew here, you can always get down to different coffee shops. You can visit Amon, you can visit Sobra Banks at her coffee shop and just get to taste, what kind of coffee they make. But apart from that, do always catch the coffee break, bringing you the best about coffee, teaching you different elements, always on House of Talent Television. This has been the Coffee Break, and my name is Ateng Emmanuel.